Hello, and welcome to this presentation on the elements of the novel. What is a novel? A novel is just like a short story, only longer, with its main plot and subplots. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a novel is an invented prose narrative that is usually long and complex and deals especially with human experience through a usually connected sequence of events. Whew, that's a long one. Like a short story, a novel has a setting which refers to the time and place. A novel might have several settings, each contributing to the plot in some way or another. The central message or insight into life is the theme. It can be stated directly or indirectly. Love conquers all is an example of a universal theme. The perspective from which a story is told is known as point of view. A story could be told from the first person, I, me, mine, second person, you, your, third person, he, she, they, their, or the omniscient point of view. With this last one, the reader knows everyone's thoughts or feelings. Dialogue and dialect, what's the difference? Dialogue is conversation between characters, while dialect may give an idea of where a person might be from. People from the northern part of the United States speak differently than those who were raised in the South. What about motif? Motif is related to the theme in that it reinforces the theme. Fire is a motif in the Hunger Games. A character in a novel is the person who takes part in the action. In a novel, the characters may be many and varied. A round character has many different traits. He or she is a complex character. Round characters make a story more believable and effective. A flat character has only one trait. He or she usually doesn't go through any significant change. Flat characters sometimes support the main character. A flat character should not be confused with a static character, which is the one that does not undergo interchange or undergoes very little. A static character can be a protagonist, while a flat character cannot. A dynamic character shows change through the story. If he was bad at the beginning, he might turn out as a good person in the end, or maybe not as bad. What is the difference between a round character and a dynamic character? The traits of a dynamic character are usually not stated by the author. They're implied, whereas the traits of the round character are stated. The static character does not change. If he was a selfish person in the beginning, he'll probably remain selfish. Sherlock Holmes is an example of a static character. He does not change, but he's an interesting character nonetheless, and is the protagonist in the Conan Doyle novels based on this famous character. A writer shows what a character is like through the way he acts, speaks, and thinks. This is known as characterization. Characterization is used to highlight and explain the details about a character. There are two kinds. One type of characterization is direct or explicit characterization. This kind of characterization takes a direct approach towards building the character. It uses another character, narrator, or the protagonist himself to tell the readers or audience about the subject. Example, she had Goldilocks types of hair. Indirect or implicit characterization is a bit more complicated. This is a more subtle way of introducing the character to the audience. The audience has to deduce for themselves the characteristics of the character by observing his or her thought process, behavior, speech, way of talking, appearance, and manner of communicating with other characters, as well as by discerning the response of other characters. In other words, they have to guess what the character is like based on conversation or actions. Every story has a protagonist, the main character, who creates the action of the plot and engages readers, arousing their empathy and interest. The protagonist is often a hero or heroine of the story, as the whole plot moves around him or her. In literature, an antagonist is a character or a group of characters which stands in opposition to the protagonist, which is the main character. The term antagonist comes from the Greek word antagonistes, which means opponent, competitor, or rival. It's common to refer to an antagonist as a villain, the bad guy, against whom a hero, the good guy, fights in order to save himself or others. In some cases, an antagonist may exist within the protagonist that causes an inner conflict or a moral conflict inside his mind. In literature, conflict is a literary element that involves a struggle between two opposite forces, usually a protagonist and an antagonist. There are two kinds: internal conflict, psychological, or external conflict, which are outside forces. Thank you for your attention, and be sure to check out the source on the literary devices for more details. Just click on the link.